Hello and welcome to Elite Rounders Coaching. Today we focus on student hand history, which we will review. So this is kind of common spot at the final tables, and I think there's kind of easy tip in a sense what to do in these spots. Uh, I think name of the game is really like profiling your opponent. So I will explain the first hand a little bit. Um, so we have final table here. Juho opens the hijack. So 6 players left. Juho opens hijack, roughly 24 big blinds with ace 10 suited. And then the small blind 3.36 exit, so 3.3x basically. And Juho has a spot basically to decide to go all in or fold. I don't think calling is that good option. Again, like final table, um, the three better can still apply so much pressure to us post flop, just c betting everything and putting us in incredibly tough spots. So I think this is very much a pre-flop spot, and based on the villain, we should probably make our decision. Uh, so first of all, I think that's why I think this is like about profiling your opponent. It's tough to say in these spots like without any reads. For my eye though, this looks like a perfect spot to put pressure on you. And when you look at the stack sizes, 24 big blinds. Actually, it's easier to look at from this because you can actually see the stack sizes. So here, Hero has 24 big blinds. We raise, uh, we get 3 bet, and looking at the stack sizes, 49 to 23, 45, 13, 34. So this looks like a typical spot where people can just apply so much pressure to you. And if your raise falling ace 10 suited, that is probably really profitable because if you open some other suited ace x as well, you're probably folding like a lot of hands. Well, I mean, it's a lot of hands you're folding. If you don't shove this, you're not shoving much. Sorry, I guess I need to equilab for this. Um, so let's look at this. This is still like premium hand. So yeah, talking about like top 6.5% with Equilab, okay? So this is truly premium hand. And if you fold 6.5, and how many hands are you opening? So depending how many hands you open, how much is he exploiting you, basically. So of course, in this spot, you're probably fairly tight. Uh, but still keep in mind that if you're opening a lot of hands, you also need to fight back. But to me, this looks like an excellent spot for him to just throw a 3 bet because you will be under a lot of pressure to go all in or fold, basically. So these situations, you need to profile the opponent. Okay, because I wasn't playing at the final table, I don't know what his 3 bet was. Is his VP just huge? But apparently he's some sort of regular. Uh, Bong is some sort of regular. So potentially this is kind of good spot for him to just flex his muscle, throw in 3 bet, put you in all in or fold mode. So I think like it's always effective when you can put somebody to their life decision. You could say essentially like put gun to their head basically. It is usually fairly effective. So works in real life too, but I wouldn't I wouldn't try it. So it is fairly effective. So that's why you need to be careful here who is doing this. Because like versus some villain, this will be like an instant jam technically. Versus somebody, it will be like insta fold. So first of all, you could start with different ranges. First of all, consider what range is he actually calling you with? Like, what sort of hand is he actually 3 bet calling you here? Because I know a lot of villains who would just jam ace queen off, maybe even ace king off, and they would just induce jacks plus an ace queen suited, maybe, or something like ace king off, ace queen suited, jacks plus. So this could be their value range, right? Like this could be someone's value range. If he's a bit wider guy, it could be something like this. But I don't really see too many other hands 3 bet calling. Maybe if someone super was super wide, it could be something like this. He's 3 bet calling. Um, if they're like kind of crazy. So that means like they can also bluff more because technically they have more value hands. But you can still shove wider, I believe, because they have so many more worse hands, I guess. Uh, but here, looking at this, what would be realistic is tough to say without knowing any details. So I haven't seen any hands from this guy, so tough to say from that perspective. But if it would be kind of tighter player, the range could look like this. I believe people might just jam ace jack suited, ace queen off, ace jack off, so even tens, nines, eights. Um, so I think it makes sense. So and then his calling range. So versus this sort of range, if there's no bluffs, so this is the first profile. So this is a guy who never bluffs. What can we jam? So basically, you just have to try different profiles and try to categorize to this player to some group. Is he a guy who overbluffs way too much? Is he a guy who's a little bit out of line? Is he a guy who's playing GTO? Is he a guy who's playing tighter than GTO? So it's like, again, final table, they can be a bit more out of line from GTO, from the GPV perspective, because the chips are worth not as much. So shoving doesn't become very profitable. So in this case, if his range would be three betting ace queen suited, ace king off, jacks, this is probably totally possible for some villain. Like, it sounds kind of mad, but for some villains would play like this, and you could only jam kings and aces, which is kind of funny. Um, so this would be the first profile. So if somebody would three bet like us 3%, which is probably not that realistic for most of the players, but this could be some sort of like fun player who plays 50% of the hands, but three bets only the nuts or something. It is possible. So then we need to add some bluffs here. So first of all, now you can think about like, oh, does this guy have some bluffs? What could he bluff? Like, let's say he will bluff queen jack, he will bluff, I don't know, king nine or jack nine, ace nine, or something, ace x blocker, something like this. Whatever. It does matter a little bit what hands you choose, especially with Icemizer, because the blocker hand, will take some. Um, it will change some of the frequencies here. Like, so sometimes it's showing like nines is more profitable to jam than tens if you put like a more certain type of blocker hand. So it doesn't matter what blocker hands you use. But this is just to give you idea. It's not like, I think just pick some of those hands which you believe people could bluff, you could bluff. I think that's fine. Or actually, of course, you should put some weight to this, because I don't think people three bet 100% each hand. So of course that would be better. Um, so now you see that it's already widening. Like if his three bet is like 6%, now we can shove ace king suited, queens plus. So if his three bet is 6%, but personally, people do three bet way more than 6%. And this looks like such a good spot for him to just mess around with you. So I think it's not staying at 6%. Let's add some more. King X blocker. Actually, it's kind of funny. I don't think he needs to bluff these ace X, but yeah. Ace jack off, I think it's probably potentially going to be, I think it will be a lot of these kind of garbage ace X. So let's say 9.7. This is probably becoming like reasonable small blind range, especially like for a reg. It's fairly typical to see like something like 10% three bet from small blind. Again, of course, like if they have played very solid final table, this would be different. But like it's such a good spot, like with the big stack pulling us. So I'm giving him way more bluffs to be honest than in regular spot. But it is starting to become a little bit uncomfortable to put more bluffs. But again, this depends on your villain's profile. So if he's like a very aggressive preflop, just shove wide. But that's what you need to do. You need to try different profiles. As you can see now, if his three bet is 10%, it's already becoming profitable. If his calling range is looking like jacks plus ace queen suited, ace king off, you can see that ace 10 suited is already profitable and making you pretty decent money. Like if you think about it, It's $7 per shove. So of course, per 100 hands, you would make $700. So it's not small edge in a sense. It sounds innocent. It doesn't sound that much, but it is still pretty good money. We can also change the call range. So if you think he's a little bit weirder guy, like who's going to three bet call, ace queen off, ace jack suited, a tens, I don't think it's like mistake. Well, maybe versus Juho it would be because like if he's calling ace jack suited and Juho is jamming ace queen, might not be the best play in the world. But let's change it that he's three betting 11%, but he's calling 5%. So this is what I mean. Like you need to try different profiles for different spots to have an idea. If you don't do this, it's very tough to play these spots because you are like, oh, so what should I do here? Well, there's no one answer. It depends on the player, right? And this is your job as the player to decide what sort of profile he is, and then based on that, based on these studies, you need to make your decision. Does he fall into this guy who's way out of line? Does he fall into this? Does he call everything like? So you need to calculate like again here if he's three bet calling ace jack so that ace queen off tens and he's three bet is 11, it doesn't it's not profitable. So you need to think about few things here, like how wide is his three bet call range, like how wide is this range first of all. So and then how wide is the three bet range. So now if he's three bet calling ace jack suited, ace queen off tens, now this becomes worse. So now he needs to have more bluffs, right? So now we need to add more bluffs to see where the threshold goes, like how high is the threshold he can three bet us, and we can start shoving ace ten suited. So now we need to know if the guy is more likely to call three bet call here tens, then what sort of three bet percentage we should look at here in order to make profitable shove. But yeah, so that's why, for example, you have these spots are tough to say without any reads yourself. This is the player's job to profile the opponent, and then based on that make your decision. It's kind of like you do this enough for every spot, and you will recognize the pattern. So you see that if you think he's three bet calling this, which is possible, you can see that even 13% is not enough. So he would be now. This has become like definitely harder to find like these bluffs. But let's still keep going. I want to see a point. I always want to see a point when I can jam, so I have idea how many percentage somebody would need to three bet here for me to make profitable shove. Because it's still important to learn like how to play against certain profile. If someone's super tight, you just call the better hand. You don't shove. Versus super tight guy, you just call with queens basically, or something like ridiculous like that. It should still be unlikely in six max game that you call with queens, but technically there can be situations where you just call with queens. If the villain is super tight, you just have to call. So it looks like 14% is roughly the threshold here. We can start jamming ace ten suited. So if you think your villain falls into these 14% or the earlier, whatever it was, 11%, or when we had the little bit different, this calling range, it was like jacks plus ace queen suited basically. Then it's like 11. If he's three bet calling wider, then it's 14% he can three bet. So basically that's it. You just need to know like how these different player types play, if they're a bit tighter. I think flatting is I guess it kind of sucks because we will always face pretty much c-bet. So I don't love too much like flatting in these spots, like especially final table when they can apply so much pressure. I think it is mostly pre-flop spot. Um, but yeah, I mean, of course you could call, but like it's tough. It's tough. You when you're on final table with the stack depth, I think he will probably print against you on flops when you just miss and you just end up folding a lot of like flops or he barrels turns. So it's like not something I would recommend calling too much here. And there's also the fear factor because we are playing for a decent amount of money, so First price was 1,880, and there's 6 left, so they can apply not just pressure at the table, but also mental pressure. But yeah, I think that's it for this hand, and just keep in mind these profiling opponents and putting them in categories before deciding what to do. I personally think this was really good spot for you to jam because I think he's going to be something like this. Might be even wider, who knows? He might just click any ace-x, like just 3-bet here. Oh, this is a good spot. Let's 3-bet or something. I don't think the big blind matters that much because he's going to call like never. So when he 3-bets, he's just going to fold like everything he has pretty much. Um, Maybe he calls like top 5 hand or something like that. So I don't think it really, I don't think he really cares too much about the big blind in that terms, like because he's just going to fold 95% or something probably. It's possible at least, depending on his tendencies. But yeah, so I think that's it. But profile your opponents and make your decisions based on that. And calculate with ICMizer or Hold'em resource calculator. Do not use the settings what it tells you immediately because that's not the truth. You need to check like different solutions. Don't just, oh, that's what the solver says. This should be his range. Nobody's playing these ranges exactly. I don't play. Nobody plays exactly what the range ICMizer first gives you. So don't just use those and click calculate and take that answer as a truth, as the truth. So yep, but that's it. I hope you learned something in the video, and I hope it was helpful. But like, just keep profiling the opponents, and you should be fine in poker. Good luck.